Good evening and welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, held in person and online. I note the quorum has been reached and I declare that the meeting is open. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live. While I will provide my opening remarks in English, you are welcome to address me in French or English, and I will respond in the language of your choice. If at any point you would like a response translated, simply raise your hand. Veuillez noter que cette séance est enregistrée et diffusée en direct. Bien que je fasse mes remarques d'ouverture en anglais, vous êtes invité à vous adresser à moi en français ou en anglais et je vous répondrai dans la langue de votre choix. Si à un moment donné, une réponse est donnée dans une langue et que vous souhaitez qu'elle soit traduite, il vous suffira de lever la main et de me le faire savoir. So before turning to the agenda, I would like to take a few minutes to speak about continuity. Municipal governance is often perceived through visible moments, elections, resignations, consultations, new committees. The deeper work of a town, however, lies in how it manages those moments without losing direction. I want to acknowledge the resignation of our District 3 Councillor, Peter Mate. His departure comes only a few months after the November 2nd, 2025 election, where he and 3 colleagues were acclaimed. Serving is demanding, and public office is ultimately a personal commitment. Peter Mate has been a great ally to us for the last 4 years and 3 months and remains a good friend to all of us. I would like to thank him. I hope he's watching online tonight, and to thank him for the great quality of his thinking and also of his commitment to this town, always knowing when to keep the hat on for councillor versus merchant or commercial owner, but also for his great care in always thinking about the staff and in how we can keep our governance at a level that's going to continue to bring great quality of service to the town for generations to come. Our responsibility now is procedural and institutional. The Cities and Towns Act provides the framework, and we will follow it carefully. The by-election will take place on the first Sunday of May, so that is May 3rd of 2026. Until then, District 3 residents will continue to be represented and Council's work continues. All of Peter Mate's emails from District 3 are forwarded to my inbox, so please continue to use that if that is your usual channel of communication with the town. I would also like to speak briefly about participation. The call for applications to the Economic Development Committee and the Ad Hoc Horticulture and Public Landscape Design Committee generated strong interest. That response matters. It shows that residents are prepared not only to comment on decisions, but also to contribute to the work itself. The Economic Development Committee is intended to provide structured advice as we align merchants, community organizations, events, and regional partnerships with a coherent vitality strategy. The Horticulture Committee reflects a complementary priority, improving the quality and ecology integrity of our public spaces. Landscape design is not cosmetic. It shapes how a town is experienced. The expertise among applicants is encouraging. We received more than 12 applicants for the Horticulture Committee and 21 applicants for the Economic Development Committee. Finally, Sandy Beach. Last Thursday's public information meeting marked another step in a process that began last summer with acquisition and financing decisions. We received 560 survey responses, with 50% expressing support for accepting the CMM's $2 million Tram Verte et Bleu subsidy. Beyond the percentage, the written input was substantive. Residents raised questions about autonomy, access, parking capacity, equity between residents and non-residents, and long-term management. Those concerns are legitimate and will inform Council's deliberation. Our task is to weigh financial prudence, conservation permanence, and local control within a metropolitan framework. The decision this evening will be grounded in facts and in our conservation plan. Before we proceed, I would simply note that tonight's agenda includes routine planning decisions, the formal creation of 2 advisory committees, consideration of the Sandy Beach subsidy resolution, the statutory notice of the District 3 vacancy, and several financial administrative matters necessary to the town's operation. We will address each in turn. I would also remind residents that Coffee with the Mayor will take place this Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon at Halcrow Cottage, as it does each month on the Saturday following the council meeting. In the coming weeks, the seniors' movie mornings continue. So tomorrow, on the fourth Wednesday of each month, from 10 a.m. to noon at the Community Center here, with this month's feature being the Pelican Brief. Seniors Bingo is held every second Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. The seniors' trip to the Sugar Shack will take place on Thursday, March 19th from 10 until 2 p.m. at the Sucrerie de la Montagne, where space is limited and tickets are $5. So please sign up early. Teen Night is scheduled this week for February 27th here at the Community Center from 4 to 7 p.m. for the ages of 9 to 12 and from 7 to 10 p.m. for ages 12 and over. And as a reminder, on March 21st will be the annual St. Patrick's Parade and will once again take place along Main Road. So for full details for these and other activities, please take a look on the town's website. You will find more details. Moving on to this evening's agenda. So for item 1.1, adoption of the agenda, I will propose that there be the amendment of deferring item 10.1, est-ce que c'est bien le bon chiffre? Deferring item 10.1 to next month, as we are having to postpone the signature of the acquisition of Sandy Beach, as Nikenko is still finalizing updating their registry for their corporation. This is probably following the passing of Hans Muleg and both his daughter and wife taking over. They need to formalize that appropriately in the books of the corporation, making it that for the land transaction, that update needs to be done. They're estimating that this will take approximately 2 more weeks. So tentatively, we have set the signature now for March 18th. So I propose that the amended agenda, so removing 10.1, be approved as presented for this evening, February 24th. Do I have a mover? Reed Thompson, supported to my right by Bob Johnson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. En français. Allez-y.
1.1, adoption de l'ordre du jour. Que l'item 10.1, adoption, règlement 70.1-2026 visant à modifier le règlement 770-2024 sur l'utilisation du parc nature et de la plage Sandy Beach soit retiré de l'ordre du jour. Cette résolution vise à ce que l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du Conseil du 24 janvier 2026 soit adopté tel que modifié.
Merci beaucoup. Section 2, confirmation of minutes, item 2.1. This resolution is that the minutes of the council meeting held on January 27th of 2026 be and are hereby approved as submitted en français.
2.1, adoption des procès-verbaux. Cette résolution vise à ce que le procès-verbal de la séance ordinaire du 27 janvier 2026 soit approuvé par les présentes tel que soumis.
Do I have a mover to my left? Reed Thompson. To my right, Matt Stenberg. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is adopted unanimously. So moving on to the first question period. Chantal, je vais avoir besoin de ton aide pour en ligne et en personne. Je ne me suis pas encore inscrite au webinaire. J'attends pour la mise à jour de mes courriels. So please, if there are any questions in the room, please come to the microphone and we will alternate between in the room and online. So just come to the microphone.
Quarry Point. I wonder, have the floodplain maps and designations been finalized with the government? Do we know what the rulings are?
So what I know to date is that we've received the proposed flood maps, but they have not yet been adopted by the government per se. I know that the CMM has has been mandated by the government to serve as the coordinating body, but that basically these should come into effect March 1st, but we're still waiting for confirmation on these.
Because I noticed that on the agenda today, there is a request for a building on the waterfront, and I wonder if does that have an impact on decisions that the council can make or not?
So as you know, the files that come to TPAC are evaluated according to their compliance to the bylaws as they stand at the time of submittal, and not any changes to the bylaws that follow. And otherwise, what I do know about the maps is that in our area, they should be sensibly similar to la zone d'intervention spéciale, so the ZIS, the areas that we are already following and have been following since approximately 2019. So it has no impact on the file this evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions en ligne?
Pour l'instant, 24 personnes en ligne, mais aucune main levée.
Okay, so final chance. If there's anyone in the room, please come to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey. I live on Cameron, and I'm here representing the gentleman that was struck by a car earlier this month. And I appreciate very much, Mayor Hutchison, that you sent me a letter after and a detailed message in regards to my request for information and also inquiries as to what is looking forward to being done and what we can provide as far as a town. I've made a few notes. There were a few notes that I remarked about your letter, and I wanted to discuss or have them brought out. You were kind enough to tell me that there were multitudes of requests for safety on our roads. Safety on Côte St. Charles is extremely concerning because of the students, and also on Cameron because of the increased traffic and the speeds that are being flown by going up the hill, and the space that is non-existent on the roads, as well as the brush on the side of the road that is overgrown on a constant basis. The lines in the road have not been made properly, and it seems as if they wear down 2-3 weeks after they have been actually drawn out in July, which is incomprehensive. There are some suggestions that you actually put forward in your letter about possibly clearing the snow better, but I find that is absolutely useless because snow falls, ice develops, and the road is unwalkable. Suggestions that there could be a path done on the side of the road. Hudson owns 17 feet from the center of the road or from the curb, I'm not sure. That is for you to understand. But there is a lot of land that is there for the grab. And to put a gravel path and maybe send a little tractor to clear all the way from the village up Cameron to Harwood would not be an impossible or an expensive task. Things like this in the winter, obviously a skidoo with a good weight on the back of a platform can pack down the snow to accommodate a pathway where people can walk. And in the summer, I had a little bit of a trouble understanding your comment about bollards up Cameron and the cost to replace if damaged. I kind of have a little bit of a bittersweet comment about that the cost of a few bollards, if they have to be replaced, is absolutely nothing compared to the cost of someone's life or...
Did you have a question? It is a question period.
It is a question period. What is being done in the immediate about safety on both Côte St. Charles and Cameron?
Okay, thank you for your questions. So with regards to the comment on bollards, I'd have to reread my answer to you, but I wouldn't have thought that that was necessarily an argument to say that that's why we wouldn't put them up. So I'll reread that after the meeting or maybe tomorrow. What are we doing actively on Côte St. Charles and Cameron and any other place for safe walking? It was a request of council at the end of last term that the town look into having a master plan on mobility and not just walking, but also speeding safety, as we know that any speed abatement measures that we put in one area tends to deflect and create issues in adjacent areas. So it's an overall town-wide plan that looks at circulation, speed abatement, but also pedestrian safety and mobility. That should be, we hope, coming to the table soon. In terms of adding a separate path, at least on a portion of Cameron going up the hill, which is where the incident occurred, that is something that we looked into. As you may or may not know, we put aside $1 million a year for paving projects. We've had, a backlog on quality of roads for quite a long time. And we do have a rough estimate of what adding that path would be, but it would take up 2/3 of the paving budget. And so my comment to council was, I think that we need to continue with the paving, and this is a capital project that is separate from actual paving, right? We shouldn't be treating them together. Now, which comes first? Is it Côte St. Charles or Cameron? I think we receive more comments and questions for Côte St. Charles, just because there's probably more families living in the lower areas down Côte St. Charles, and it's harder to get to. Then there's quite a decent shoulder on Cameron in the lower part from Fairhaven down. So I think that's what's happening there. In terms of cutting back the brush, ever since Vanessa has joined the team, which is about 6 months ago, I think it's one of the first strong actions that you took, and actually actively asked that there be an external company that came and did that, and you started right away. I believe it was Cameron where you backed that up, and even on Côte St. Charles as well. Your comment on the lack of longevity of the painted lines certainly is, we have learned over the years that depending on the mix of the paint, that will have an impact, and the abrasives, of course, do that. So maybe that's something we can look into. I hadn't noticed that on Cameron we were losing the lines sooner, which usually at the stop signs we're losing them a lot sooner than anywhere else, but those are good and fair comments, right? And if I asked you to bring it to a question, it's just because it's a question period and I'm trying to be fair to everyone. But know that we are actively looking at all these areas. Councillor Reid Thompson here to my left, very active. He's on the circulation committee with you, I believe, Matt Stenberg. But it's something that Reid has been pushing for quite a while, to have this overall master plan in terms of mitigating all of those different areas, and has been pushing for Cameron specifically a lot because it keeps coming to their table. So we do have a number. It is not in the 2026 budget. Is it affordable? I think that we certainly can start the design plans now and also consult with the community, because we've learned that when we do, a separate path, even if to us it seems pretty straightforward, we know that some areas we're going to have to add planting between that path and the neighbors, that's something that we want to at least dessiner le tracé, so put the drawing out and then start to work with the community in that sense and put it in our 2027 budget. That's where we're at this point. So first, the master plan, that mobility plan, which will come, which is much more macro level in terms of placing the priorities. Safety around school is also a major priority. And then at least for 2027, dig down in that separate path for Cameron, which is a number, because we don't have to go to the Ministry of Environment, because there are not drainage issues on that portion that goes up Cameron, it's an easy fix. So it's an easy one for us to roll forward quickly. I hope that answers your question. All right. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions en ligne? Je me suis connectée, donc on devrait être bonne pour la deuxième période. All right, so moving on to section 3, urban planning and environment. So as you see, the space next to me is open, is free, since we do not have a councillor of District 3, as he has resigned, and he was also the president of our Town Planning Advisory Committee. Peter resigned the day before the Town Planning Advisory Committee meeting, so Reid kindly has offered to chair that committee. And so Reid will be now the person to whom I will pass the reading of these resolutions. So please go ahead.
3.1, SPAPE approval for February 2026, and Councillor Mark Gray has an interest in the matter and issue and must recuse himself from this resolution at 7:20 p.m. Whereas the requests were received by the Town Planning Advisory Committee at the meeting held on February 3rd, 2026, this motion is to approve the SPAPE of the following projects: 454 Lakeview, which is an addition and received a unanimous approval, and 69 CLERK, addition to an accessory building, approval by majority.
3.1, approbation des PIA, février 2026. Considérant que les demandes ont été analysées par le CCU lors de la rencontre du 3 février 2026, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver le PIA relatif aux demandes suivantes: 454 Lakeview, agrandissement, approbation à l'unanimité; 69 CLERK, agrandissement d'un bâtiment accessoire, approbation à la majorité.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported to my left by Reid Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.2, 2 Royal View, SPAPE, new detached single-family construction. Reid?
Whereas a permit request was received
Let
for...
it show that Councillor Gray has returned.
Oh,
to
yes,
the table.
sorry. Councillor Gray returns to his seat at 7:21 p.m. Whereas the permit request was received for a new detached single-family construction on 2 Royal View, whereas bylaw number 571 concerning site planning and architectural integration programs, the SPAPE, indicates objectives and criteria to fulfill for this type of permit application, whereas the Town Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation by majority to refuse the SPAPE in support of the permit request, whereas the following criteria are not met: to demonstrate how the chosen project location presents the lowest potential environmental impact, to make sure building locations preserve the site's natural characteristics while minimizing the loss of on-site plant coverage and mature trees, and to avoid large uniform walls. This resolution is to refuse the SPAPE permit request for 2 Royal View.
3.2, 2 Royal View, PIA, nouvelle construction unifamiliale isolée. Considérant qu'une demande de permis a été reçue pour une nouvelle construction unifamiliale isolée pour le 2 Royal View, considérant que le règlement 571 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale indique des objectifs et critères à respecter pour une demande de ce type, considérant la recommandation majoritaire du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis, considérant que les critères suivants ne sont pas remplis: démontrer que le choix de la localisation du projet est celui qui a le plus faible impact environnemental, s'assurer que l'implantation des bâtiments préserve les caractéristiques naturelles du site et minimiser la perte de la couverture végétale et d'arbres matures sur le terrain, éviter les grands murs uniformes. Cette résolution a pour but de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis pour le 2 Royal View.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported to my left by Reid Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.3, 714 Main, SPAPE, major renovation works.
Whereas a permit request was received for major renovation works on 714 Main, whereas bylaw number 571 concerning site planning and architectural integration programs indicates objectives and criteria to fulfill for this type of permit application, whereas the Town Planning Advisory Committee's unanimous recommendation to refuse this SPAPE in support of the permit request, whereas the following criteria are not met. Ensure that exterior finished materials are in harmony with the architecture of the building. This resolution is to refuse the SPAPE of the permit request for 714 Main.
3.3, 714 Main, PIA, travaux de rénovation majeure. Considérant qu'une demande de permis a été reçue pour des travaux de rénovation majeure pour le 714 Main, considérant que le règlement 571 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale indique des objectifs et critères à respecter pour une demande de ce type, considérant la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis, considérant que le critère suivant n'est pas respecté, assurer que les matériaux de revêtement extérieur cadrent bien avec l'architecture du bâtiment. Cette résolution a pour but de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis pour le 714 Main.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported to my left by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.4, 56 Beach, SPAPE, sign on a post.
Whereas a certificate of authorization request was received for a sign at 56 Beach, whereas bylaw number 571 concerning site planning and architectural integration programs indicates objectives and criteria to fulfill for this type of permit application, whereas the Town Planning Advisory Committee's unanimous recommendation to refuse the SPAPE in support of the permit request, whereas the following criteria are not met: to prioritize the use of materials, shapes, and colors that harmonize with the building facades and respect its volume and architecture, and ensure that signs highlight the building and contribute in increasing the quality of the rural landscape. This resolution is to refuse the SPAPE of the Certificate of Authorization request for 56 Beach.
3.4, 56 Beach, PIA, enseigne sur structure. Considérant qu'une demande de certificat d'autorisation a été reçue pour une enseigne pour le 56 Beach, considérant que le règlement 571 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale PIA indique des objectifs et critères à respecter pour une demande de ce type, considérant la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis, considérant que les critères suivants ne sont pas respectés, privilégier des matériaux, une forme et des couleurs qui s'harmonisent à la façade et respectent son volume et son architecture, assurer que les enseignes mettent en valeur le bâtiment et contribuent à rehausser la qualité du paysage champêtre. Cette résolution a pour but de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de certificat d'autorisation pour le 56 Beach.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Reed Thompson, supported by Mark Gray. Good. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.5, 56 Beach, SPAPE sign.
So this is a second sign for the same address. This one is located on a wall instead of a signpost out front. Whereas a certificate of authorization request was received for a sign on 56 Beach, whereas bylaw number 571 concerning site planning and architectural integration programs indicates objectives and criteria to fulfill for this type of permit application, whereas the Town Planning Advisory Committee's unanimous recommendation to refuse the SPAPE in support of the permit request, whereas the following criteria are not met: prioritize signage that respects the architectural character of the building, to prioritize the use of materials, shapes, and colors that harmonize with the building's facades and respect its volume and architecture, to prioritize signs that promote the interharmony of signage, and ensure that signs highlight the building and contribute in increasing the quality of the rural landscape. This resolution is to refuse the SPAPE of the Certificate of Authorization request for 56 Beach.
3.5, 56 Beach, PIA, enseigne murale. Considérant qu'une demande de certificat d'autorisation a été reçue pour une enseigne pour le 56 Beach, considérant que le règlement numéro 571 sur les plans d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale, PIA, indique des objectifs et critères à respecter pour une demande de ce type, considérant la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de permis, considérant que les critères suivants ne sont pas respectés. Privilégier une enseigne qui respecte le caractère architectural du bâtiment, privilégier des matériaux, une forme et des couleurs qui s'harmonisent à la façade et respectent son volume et son architecture, privilégier des enseignes qui s'harmonisent entre elles, assurer que les enseignes mettent en valeur le bâtiment et contribuent à rehausser la qualité du paysage champêtre. Cette résolution a pour but de refuser le PIA relatif à la demande de certificat d'autorisation pour le 56 Beach.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.6. Request to amend the land use and development plan of the MRC of Vaudreuil-Soulanges following the entry into force of the PMADR, whereas the CMM entered into a revision period of the Metropolitan Land Use and Development Plan, herein after PMAD in 2017, whereas during the PMAD review exercise, the CMM Council adopted the Règlement de contrôle intérimaire de la Communauté métropolitaine de Montréal numéro 2022-96 concernant les milieux naturels, whereas the RCI 2022-96 was intended to protect the terrestrial environments of metropolitan interest, whereas the revised PMAD, which came into effect on December 11th of 2025, whereas the RCI 2022-96 targeted part of the forest cover of the town's territory that is not covered by measures relating to woods and metropolitan forest corridors, whereas the amendment to RCI 2022-96 via bylaw 2025-125 therefore has the effect of removing protections for forest cover not included in metropolitan woods and forest corridors, and to request that the MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges implement interim control measures to protect natural environments during the SAD, so schéma d'aménagement et de développement review period. En français.
3.6, demande de modification du schéma de la MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges à la suite de l'entrée en vigueur du PMADR, du PMAD. Considérant que la CMM est entrée en période de révision du plan métropolitain d'aménagement et de développement ci-après PMAD en 2017, considérant que durant l'exercice de révision du PMAD, le Conseil de la CMM a adopté le règlement de contrôle intérimaire de la Communauté métropolitaine de Montréal, numéro 2022-96, concernant les milieux naturels, considérant que le RCI 2022-96 visait notamment à protéger les milieux terrestres d'intérêt métropolitain, considérant que le PMAD révisé est entré en vigueur le 11 décembre 2025, considérant que le RCI 2022-96 visait une partie du couvert forestier sur le territoire de la Ville, lequel n'est pas visé par les mesures relatives au bois et au corridor forestier métropolitain, considérant que la modification du RCI 2022-96 par le règlement 2025-125 a donc pour effet de retirer les protections pour le couvert forestier non inclus dans les bois et les corridors forestiers métropolitains. Cette résolution vise à demander à la MRC de Vaudreuil-Soulanges de mettre en place des mesures de contrôle intérimaire pour la protection des milieux naturels durant la période de révision du SAD, du schéma d'aménagement
et de développement. Do I have a mover to my left? Reed Thompson, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.7, Economic Development Committee EDC. Whereas Council deemed it necessary to form an Economic Development Committee that acts in an advisory capacity and makes recommendations to the Town Council, this resolution is to form the Economic Development Committee to appoint the following members for a renewable one-year mandate. So myself, Mayor Chloe Hutchison as Chair, Councillor Matthew Stenberg, Andrew Dumas, Annick Joannis, Brianna Doyle, Charlie Gorayeb, Erica McPhee, Jay de la Durante, Karen Molson, Manbir Joal, and Stuart Schulman. That one seat on the committee be reserved for a representative of Développement Vaudreuil-Soulanges to act as a liaison without voting rights, and that the committee be coordinated by a representative of the municipal administration, and that the rules of procedures apply. En français.
3.7, Comité de développement économique, CDE. Considérant que le Conseil juge opportun de créer un comité de développement économique qui agit à titre consultatif et fait des recommandations au Conseil municipal, cette résolution a pour but de créer le comité de développement économique, de nommer les membres suivants pour un mandat d'1 an renouvelable. La mairesse, Mme Chloé Hutchison, présidente, le conseiller Matthew Stenberg, Andrew Dumas, Annick Joannis, Brianna Doyle, Charlie Gorayeb, Erica McPhee, Jay de la Durante, Karen Molson, Mambir Joyal et Stuart Schulman. Qu'un siège sur le comité soit réservé pour un représentant de Développement Vaudreuil-Soulanges afin d'agir à titre de liaison sans droit de vote. Que le comité soit coordonné par un représentant de l'administration municipale et que les règles de régie interne s'appliquent.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Darren Legault, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So I'd like to thank everyone who applied. As I mentioned in my opening statement, there were 21 applicants, which is really a great demonstration of interest in this committee. There's certainly, it's come through a lot of requests, different requests, but also looking to have a better liaison between the merchants and the town to better understand the obstacles and to look to remove, where possible, any red tape that has been making it difficult for the revitalization of the downtown core, but also to ensure best cohabitation between the merchants and the residences who live nearby. So this will be a committee where Vanessa and I get to work together, as the tables of most of our resources are pretty full at this time, and this will give us a great opportunity to get a better sense on how to frame this forward. So I will be reaching out to the selected committee members and inviting you to an introductory meeting before, let's say, the meeting would take place before the first week of March. And again, it's just to sort of set the table for the next few months and for us to know exactly how frequently we will be meeting and what we will be working on first. So again, thank you everyone for demonstrating such interest. I know that the selection period was quite elaborate. There were interviews held with all people who had applied, and we received extensive notes from Melissa Francis, who was conducting the interviews, and Matt Stenberg was also part of the interviews. And I think that Peter at the beginning had done maybe a couple of days of interviews as well. So thank you to all who were involved in making this possible. Item 3.8, acceptance for the CMM TVB grant and registration of Sandy Beach Nature Park in the Metropolitan Conservation Initiatives Directory. Mark, do you feel like reading?
Yeah, ooh. Whereas the Council wishes to receive the TBV Tram Verte Bleu financial assistance from the CMM in order to reduce the tax burden on taxpayers in the purchase of the Sandy Beach site lots, whereas the objective of the Plan Métropolitain d'Aménagement et de Développement of the Communauté Métropolitaine de Montréal, CMM, is to protect 17% of the Greater Montreal territory, whereas the CMM has made a commitment to conserve 30% of its territory by 2030. Whereas the town of Hudson wishes to contribute to the metropolitan objectives of land conservation, whereas at least 75% of the surface area of these lots is occupied by natural environments whose natural processes of evolution and development of an ecosystem are not hindered by human activities. It is proposed, or this resolution proposes that the town of Hudson communicate to the Communauté métropolitaine de Montréal its intention to accept the TBV funding if granted by the CMM, that the town of Hudson file with the Communauté métropolitaine de Montréal a registration application for lots 3080938, 3080940, 3080941, 3080947, 3080948, 3812765, and 6359848 in the Répertoire métropolitain des initiatives municipales de conservation. That's it.
Thank you, Marc. En français.
3.8, acceptation de la subvention TVB de la CMM et inscription au Parc Nature Sandy Beach au répertoire métropolitain des initiatives de conservation. Considérant que le Conseil souhaite recevoir l'aide financière de la trame verte et bleue TVB de la CMM afin de réduire le fardeau fiscal des contribuables dans l'achat des lots du site de Sandy Beach, considérant que le plan métropolitain d'aménagement et de développement de la communauté métropolitaine de Montréal, CMM, a comme objectif de protéger 17 % du territoire du Grand Montréal, considérant que la CMM a pris l'engagement de conserver 30 % de son territoire à l'horizon de 2030, considérant que la Ville d'Hudson souhaite contribuer aux objectifs métropolitains de conservation du territoire, considérant qu'au moins 75 % de la surface de ces lots est occupée par des milieux naturels dont les processus naturels d'évolution et de développement d'un écosystème ne sont pas entravés par des activités anthropiques. Cette résolution vise à ce que la Ville communique à la communauté métropolitaine de Montréal son intention d'accepter le financement TVB advenant son octroi par la CMM, que la Ville d'Hudson dépose à la communauté métropolitaine de Montréal une demande d'inscription des lots 3 080 938, 3 080 940, 3 080 941, 3 080 947, 3 080 948, 3 812 765 et 6 359 848 au répertoire métropolitain des initiatives municipales de conservation.
Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.9, awarding of contract to Nature Action Québec Sandy Beach Conservation and Management Plan. Whereas after numerous exchanges and concerted efforts on both sides, the Town of Hudson and Ekanko Holdings, Inc. have reached an agreement entitled the Transaction Discharge version August 14th, 2025 for signature for the purchase of the town of the lots on the Sandy Beach site. Whereas the Town of Hudson will own all the lots that make up the Sandy Beach site, whereas Council wishes to ensure effective conservation and management of the Sandy Beach site, this resolution is to award the contract to professional services for the drafting of Sandy Beach Management and Conservation Plan for an amount of $46,840, and it is tax exempt.
3.9, octroi de contrat à Nature Action Québec, plan de conservation et gestion du parc nature Sandy Beach. Considérant qu'après de nombreux échanges et efforts concertés déployés de part et d'autre, la Ville d'Hudson et Ekanko Holdings Inc. est parvenue à une entente nommée Transaction quittance, version 14 août 2025 pour signature, pour l'achat par la Ville des lots du site Sandy Beach. Considérant que la Ville d'Hudson sera propriétaire de l'ensemble des lots qui composent le site Sandy Beach, considérant que le Conseil souhaite assurer la conservation et la bonne gestion du site Sandy Beach, cette résolution a pour but d'octroyer le contrat de service professionnel d'élaboration d'un plan de gestion et de conservation pour le site Sandy Beach à Nature Action Québec pour un montant de 46 840 $ exonéré des taxes.
Donc, dans la version anglaise, on ne mentionne pas à nature action. Il faudrait juste rajouter cette partie-là.
Parfait.
Do I have a mover? To my left, Darren Legault, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. It is adopted unanimously. Ça va? Vous avez bien pris les signataires. C'est bon. Item 3.10, creation of ad hoc committee on horticulture and public landscape design. Whereas Council wishes to improve horticultural practices and the design of public landscapes, this resolution is to create an ad hoc committee on horticulture and public landscape design and to appoint the following members for a renewable term of 6 months. So myself, the Mayor Chloe Hutchison as chair, the Councillor Mark Gray, the Councillor Robert Johnson, Amanda Alfonso, Loretta Berg, Gabrielle Bernardi Dengo, Ingrid Chartrand, Brian Grubert, Helen Kurganski, Julianne Lankto, Liz Morgan, June Penny, Jackie Van Haveren, and Megan Webster. En français.
3.10, création du comité ad hoc horticulture et conception des paysages publics. Considérant que le Conseil souhaite améliorer les pratiques horticoles et le design des paysages publics, cette résolution a pour but de créer le comité ad hoc en horticulture et design des paysages publics, de nommer les membres suivants dont le mandat est pour une durée renouvelable de 6 mois, la mairesse Chloé Hutchison, présidente, le conseiller Mark Gray, le conseiller Robert Johnson, Amanda Alfonso, Loretta Berg, Gabrielle Bernardi Dango, Ingrid Chartrand, Brian Grubert, Hélène Kurganski, Julianne Lankto, Liz Morgan, June Penny, Jackie Van Haveren et Megan Webster.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported to my right by Bob Johnson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So again, thank you to all who applied. So I think it was 12 people applied, only 1 abstained from continuing. All the others were named. I just felt that with the variety and quality of the people who'd applied, it would be really interesting to work with the full deck, with the full diversity. And we've already held a meeting on the 18th of this month, and shared the documents on which the first part of this ad hoc committee will be working on, with the intent of providing possibly better direction to contractors looking to apply for the contract for maintenance of planting beds. Oui, qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
Est-ce qu'on peut changer le vote vu que les conseillers se sont proposés?
Bien sûr. So we'd like to change the vote. So Darren Legault and Reed. The reason being that the 2 people who voted for themselves are members on the committee. When I saw Bob's hand, I thought about it, but I'd forgotten that Mark was the other one. So, merci. So this is it. It's basically the first phase, as I mentioned, it was for the maintenance contract of 2026 to see if there's ways of improving it. With what we have at this time, of course, the deadline is extremely short. We'd like to get this done by April so that we can go out to tender or even sooner. But then as a second phase is to work on design guidelines for public spaces and also in accompaniment to some of our major projects, such as we have here the section between Beach and Quarry Point. The road will be widened. An intersection, which is the intersection at the corner of Mount Pleasant and Main. Benoit's in the room, so he knows about this intersection. It's the same intersection where I live. It's an intersection that needs to be reconfigured. Right now there's a big planter on the middle of what used to be the doctor's parking area. So anyway, an area that would benefit for better entrance into the town core. So those are the types of projects that this committee will be looking on. For now, it's a 6-month mandate. We'll see if it's something that needs to be carried for a longer term, but we're very pleased, again, with the quality of the people who have applied, and their level of engagement already has been really wonderful. So thank you. Item 3.11, tabling of TPAC minutes of December 2025. Members of council, take note of the tabling of the Town Planning Advisory Committee minutes en français.
3.11, dépôt du procès-verbal du CCU, décembre 2025. Les membres du Conseil prennent acte du dépôt des procès-verbaux du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme.
Item 3.12, tabling of monthly reports for permits issued in January of 2026. Members of council, take note of the tabling of the monthly reports for permits issued by the Urban Planning Department.
3.12, dépôt du rapport mensuel des permis émis janvier 2026. Les membres du Conseil prennent acte du dépôt des rapports mensuels des permis émis du service de l'urbanisme.
Merci. Section 4, Administration and Finance. Item 4.1, approval of disbursements, February of 2026. This resolution is to approve the following disbursements as of February 12th of 2026, with a subtotal of $599,682.14. Two payrolls, payroll 2 at $138,299.09, payroll 3, $147,114.89, for a total of accounts paid of $885,096.12. En français.
4.1, approbation des paiements février 2026. Cette résolution a pour but d'approuver le paiement des comptes au 12 février 2026 tel que présenté pour un sous-total des paiements de 599 682,14 avec 2 périodes de paye. La première période de paye, 138 299,09 sous. Et la paye 347 114,89 sous pour un total des comptes payés de 885 096,12 sous.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Darren Legault, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 4.2, refinancing of issue 71100-11, including loan bylaws 429, 483, 496, 497, 503, 534, and 549, concordance. Whereas in accordance with the following loan bylaws and for the amounts indicated for each of them, the Town of Hudson wishes to borrow by way of notes for a total amount of $559,900, which will be issued on March 9th of 2026, allocated as follows. So, loan bylaw 429 for a total amount of $32,444. Loan bylaw 483 for an amount of $30,656. Loan bylaw 496 for a total amount of $133,900. Loan bylaw 497 for an amount of $111,300. Loan bylaw 503 for $58,900. Loan bylaw 534 for an amount of $85,300, and loan bylaw 549 for a loan amount of $107,400. This resolution is that the loan bylaws referred to in the first paragraph of the preamble be financed by notes in accordance with the following terms. The notes shall be dated March 9th of 2026. Interest shall be payable semi-annually on March 9th and September 9th of each year.
4.2, refinancement de l'émission 71100-11 comprenant les règlements d'emprunt 429, 483, 496, 497, 503, 534 et 549, concordance. Considérant que conformément au règlement d'emprunt suivant et pour les montants indiqués en regard de chacun d'eux, la Ville d'Hudson souhaite emprunter par billet pour un montant total de 559 900 $ qui sera réalisé le 9 mars 2026, réparti comme suit. Règlement d'emprunt 429, 32 444 $. Règlement d'emprunt 483, 30 656 $. Règlement d'emprunt 496, 133 900 $. Règlement d'emprunt 497, 111 300 $. Règlement d'emprunt 503, 58 900 $. Règlement d'emprunt 534, 85 300 $. Règlement d'emprunt 549, 107 400 $. Cette résolution vise à ce que les règlements d'emprunt indiqués au premier alinéa du préambule soient financés par billets conformément à ce qui suit. Les billets seront datés du 9 mars 2026 et les intérêts seront payables semi-annuellement le 9 mars et le 9 septembre de chaque année.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported by Darren Legault. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 5, Town Clerk. Item 5.1, Notice of Vacancy, Position of Councillor for District 3. Considering the submission of the attached letter of resignation from District 3, Councillor Peter Mate, dated February 2nd of 2026, this resolution is that Council acknowledges the resignation of Mr. Peter Mate, that Council notes the vacancy in the position of Councillor for District 3, and that the Assistant Town Clerk be authorized to take all necessary measures to fill this position in accordance with the law.
5.1, Avis de vacances, poste de conseiller du district 3. Considérant le dépôt en annexe de la lettre de démission du conseiller du district 3, M. Peter Mate, en date du 2 février 2026, cette résolution vise à ce que le Conseil prend acte de la démission de M. Peter Mate, que le Conseil constate la vacance au poste de conseiller du district 3, que la greffière adjointe soit autorisée à prendre toutes les mesures nécessaires pour combler ce poste conformément à la loi.
Do we have a mover to my right? Bob Johnson, supported by Matt Stenberg. Are there any objections to my left? There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 5.2, Appointment of Town Council members to the Town of Hudson Committee. So this is to fill the seats that have been left open by the vacancy of District 3. So item 5.2, considering the vacancy of the position of District 3 Councillor, this resolution is to appoint District 4 Councillor Reed Thompson as an elected member and chair of Town Planning Advisory Committee TPAC for a term of 2 years beginning on February 24th of 2026. To appoint myself, Mayor Chloe Hutchison, as first substitute elected member of the Town Planning Advisory Committee, so TPAC, for a term of 2 years beginning on February 24th of 2026. To appoint District 6 Councillor Darren Legault as second substitute elected member of the Town Planning Advisory Committee, TPAC, for a term of 2 years beginning on February 24th. To appoint District 2 Councillor Matthew Stenberg as alternate representative of the Town of Hudson to sit on the Board of Directors of the Legion in the absence of Councillor Darren Legault, and to appoint myself, Chloe Hutchison, as member and chair of the Economic Development Committee for a term of 1 year beginning on February 24th of 2026. En français.
5.2, Nomination des membres du Conseil municipal au comité de la Ville d'Hudson. Considérant la vacance du poste du conseiller du district 3, cette résolution a pour but de nommer le conseiller Reed Thompson, conseiller du district 4, à titre de membre élu et président du comité consultatif d'urbanisme CCU pour un terme de 2 ans qui débute le 24 février 2026, de nommer la mairesse Chloé Hutchison à titre de présidente de premier membre élu, substitut du comité consultatif d'urbanisme CCU pour un terme de 2 ans qui débute le 24 février 2026, de nommer le conseiller Darren Legault, conseiller du district 6, à titre de second membre élu, substitut du comité consultatif d'urbanisme CCU pour un terme de 2 ans qui débute le 24 février 2026, de nommer le conseiller Matthew Stenberg, conseiller du district 2, substitut, à titre de représentant de la Ville d'Hudson afin de siéger au conseil d'administration de la Légion en l'absence du conseiller Darren Legault, de nommer la mairesse Chloé Hutchison, membre et présidente du comité de développement économique pour un mandat de 1 an qui débute le 24 février 2026.
Do I have a mover to my right? Matt Stenberg, supported to my left by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 5.3, tabling of town clerk certificate regarding registration procedure for urban planning bylaw 526.19.1-2025 in accordance with section 557 of the Act respecting elections and referendums in municipalities. The town clerk shall file the town clerk certificate relating to the registration procedure for urban planning bylaw 526.19.1-2025. En français.
5.3, dépôt du certificat du greffier relatif au déroulement de la procédure d'enregistrement, règlement d'urbanisme 526.19.1-2025, conformément à l'article 557 de la loi sur les élections et les référendums dans les municipalités. La greffière procède au dépôt du certificat du greffier relatif au déroulement de la procédure d'enregistrement du règlement d'urbanisme 526.19.1-2025.
Merci. Section 6, Human Resources, Item 6.1, February of 2026, List of Personnel Movements, Unionized Staff Hires and Departures. Members of Council take note of the tabling of the February 2026 List of Personnel Movements, Unionized Staff Hires and Departures.
6.1, dépôt, liste de mouvements de personnel, embauche et départ du personnel syndiqué, février 2026. Les membres du Conseil prennent acte du dépôt de la liste de mouvements de personnel, embauche et départ du personnel syndiqué pour février 2026.
Merci. Item 6.2, authorization to sign the letter of agreement regarding the granting of a temporary replacement premium in the clerk's office. Whereas the collective agreement does not provide for a bonus linked to the addition of responsibilities, this resolution is to ratify letter of agreement number 27, entered into between the parties, that it be made without any admission whatsoever on the part of the parties and may not be used as a precedent, and that the letter of agreement shall enter into force retroactively on the date of the agreement.
6.2, autorisation de signature pour la lettre d'entente, octroi d'une prime pour remplacement temporaire au service du greffe. Considérant que la convention collective ne prévoit pas de prime liée à l'ajout de responsabilité, cette résolution a pour but d'entériner la lettre d'entente numéro 27 intervenue entre les parties, que celle-ci soit faite sans admission quelconque de la part des parties et ne pourra être utilisée à titre de précédent, que la lettre d'entente entre en vigueur rétroactivement à la date de l'entente.
Merci. Do we have a mover? Darren Legault, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Merci René, en fait, parce que c'était une résolution pour vous, ça. Donc, merci pour votre travail.
Rien.
Item 6.3, financial and organizational support for the training of a future fire prevention officer, considering that the position of fire prevention officer has been vacant since April 11th of 2022. This resolution is that the town confirm its financial support and a guarantee of employment for Mr. Brandon Malone in a firefighter preventionist position subject to his successful completion of his academic training leading to his TPI diploma scheduled for April 2027.
Appui financier et organisationnel à la formation d'un futur préventionniste. Considérant que le poste de préventionniste au service des incendies d'Hudson est vacant depuis le 11 avril 2022, cette résolution vise à ce que la Ville confirme son support financier et une garantie d'embauche à M. Brandon Malone dans un poste de pompier préventionniste, le tout sous condition de la réussite de sa formation académique menant à l'obtention de son diplôme de TPI prévu pour avril 2027.
Do I have a mover to my left? Mark Gray, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So perhaps a quick note on this. We've been trying for several years to fill the position of preventionist. We had a very good preventionist who gratefully has come back, at least for a certain period, while Brandon Malone goes into training in order to become a preventionist. So it's wonderful for us to have a homegrown talent and who's taking this on. It's not easy. It's all about code conformity and fire safety, life and fire safety. So the town is investing in this training, but we're very pleased. He's homegrown, I think, born and raised in Hudson his entire life. I've certainly known his father way before Brandon was born. So anyway, we're very pleased that he has raised a hand and shown interest in this, and we're happy to support him through this. On another note, this afternoon I finally signed the collective agreement, so it's in yeah, it's on. So the collective agreement is 2022 to 2030. This is wonderful news. We're very pleased. It's taken us 40 months of negotiations to get to this point, and I believe that both sides are pleased with the results. So that means that we are well disposed and have all the tools in hands to continue forward. Section 7, Culture and Recreation, Item 7.1, Subsidies to Local Associations and Organizations for 2026. Read.
Whereas Council has evaluated requests for financial support from municipal associations and organizations as per the policy for recognition and support of nonprofit organizations, this resolution is to adopt the following financial contributions and to confirm this information by letter to the organizations as soon as possible following the adoption of the resolution. There's a list. Get comfortable. Organizations: Le Pont Bridging for an amount of $4,000, Meals on Wheels for $1,000, the Hudson Festival of Canadian Film for $4,500, Le Nichoir for $3,000, Greenwood Centre for Living History $8,500, Hudson Music Festival $8,500, Hudson Village Theatre $10,000, Hudson Chamber Music Series $2,000, Hudson Auto Show $1,000, Hudson Food Collective $5,500, Hudson Creative Hub $8,500, First Cavignac Scouts Hudson $3,000, Hudson Historical Society $6,500, Arts Hudson $1,000, MF Orchestra $1,500, Hudson Porch Fest $1,000, Como Lending Library $1,000, and the Orchestre Symphonique des Jeunes de Vaudreuil-Soulanges, or the OSJVS, for $1,000 for a total of $71,500.
7.1, Subventions aux associations et organismes locaux 2026. Considérant que le Conseil a évalué les demandes d'appui financier des associations et organismes municipaux en lien avec la politique de reconnaissance et de soutien des organismes à but non lucratif, cette résolution a pour but d'adopter la liste des contributions financières pour supporter ces organismes et d'en confirmer la teneur par lettre aux organismes dans les meilleurs délais après l'adoption des présentes. Les organismes, le Pont Bridging, 4 000 $, la Popote roulante, 1 000 $, Festival du film canadien de Hudson, 4 500 $, le Nichoir, 3 000 $, Centre d'histoire vivante Greenwood, 8 500 $, Festival de musique de Hudson, 8 500 $, Hudson Village Théâtre, 10 000 $, Série de musique de chambre d'Hudson, 2 000 $, Exposition de voitures d'Hudson, 1 000 $, Collectif alimentaire de Hudson, 5 500 $, Centre créatif Hudson, 8 500 $, Scout Cavanial Hudson, 3 000 $, Société historique de Hudson, 6 500 $, Art Hudson, 1 000 $, MF Orchestre, 1 500 $, Balcon Fête Hudson, 1 000 $, Bibliothèque Como Lending Library, 1 000 $, Orchestre symphonique des jeunes de Vaudreuil-Soulanges, OSJVS, 1 000 $, pour un total de 71 500 $.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my left? Reed Thompson, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So a quick note to mention, we've already adopted a resolution for $8,500 for the St. Patrick's Parade, bringing it up to 80, but also we subsidize generally each year $5,000 to the Hawkesbury Hospital Foundation and also $5,000 to the palliative care home, now called Libella. So that brings it to $90,000. So this is an increase this year to $90,000 from $75,000, while the subsidy requests this year have reached $199,000. So the demand continues to increase. We have put tighter requests for further information in terms of where is this money going, what will it be spent on, and there's a tighter assessment as well on how it aligns with our cultural policy, but also with the major plans and orientations of council. So this is all now under the wing of Laura McCaffrey, who is our Director of Culture, Recreation, and Community Engagement. Thank you. And she has done a wonderful job this year in a very short period of time to bring this all together and to reach out to the different organizations and ask them for further information. And they've all been extremely helpful and amenable in this sense. One of Council's questions at this point is, while we were using a certain sort of an amount that was triggering further questions into financials, we're planning on using or actually asking for further financial information on requests of all amounts. So basically to have further information as to is this money being used for experiences to the residents, or is it there just to keep the lights on? So those are things that I think over the years we've been asked more and more to give further information or consideration into these issues. And I'm just giving a heads up to some of you who are in the room. But also Laura has been, I believe, already communicating in this sense with the different organizations. So thank you again to all these organizations. We have a very active and very strong volunteer-based community. Year after year, you provide excellent services to the community, whether it is Meals on Wheels or Le Pont Bridging or all of the cultural events that are put on in this town. They're really part of the very rich and very vibrant experience that we have, and we continue to look to support you. So thank you. Item 7.2, St. Patrick's Parade 2026, streets, closures, and parking bans. Whereas a parade to celebrate St. Patrick's Day will be held on Saturday, March 15th.
Correction,
21.
it's the
21.
21st.
So in English, it's, oh wait, okay. In the French side, it said 21, and on the English side, it said 15. So we're both going to make them the 21. So Saturday, March 21st, at 1 p.m. on Main Road from Côte St. Charles to the Community Center. This resolution is to approve the closure of Côte St. Charles between Ridge and Main Road from 10 a.m. to approximately 3 p.m. on Saturday, March 21st, to approve the closure of Main Road between Côte St. Charles and Beach from 12:30 p.m. to approximately 3 p.m. on Saturday, March 21st, to approve the closure of the Community Center parking lot from Friday evening, March 20th, until approximately 5 p.m. on March 21st, and to approve the parking restrictions as shown on the submitted plan. Français.
7.2, interdiction de stationnement et fermeture de rue défilé de la Saint-Patrick 2026. Considérant qu'un défilé pour souligner la Saint-Patrick se tiendra le samedi 21 mars 2026 dès 13h sur la rue Maine à partir de la rue Côte-Saint-Charles jusqu'au centre communautaire, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver la fermeture de la rue Côte-Saint-Charles entre la rue Ridge et la rue Maine de 10h à environ 15h le samedi 21 mars, d'approuver la fermeture de la rue Maine entre la rue Côte-Saint-Charles et la rue Beach de 12h30 à environ 15h le samedi 21 mars, d'approuver la fermeture du stationnement du centre communautaire du vendredi soir le 20 mars jusqu'à environ 17h le 21 mars et d'approuver les interdictions de stationnement telles que présentées au plan soumis.
Do I have a mover to my left? Darren Legault, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 7.3, authorization for payment, nautical equipment. Considering the plan to add a boat rental service to Jack Layton Park required the purchase of nautical equipment. This resolution is to approve payment of $7,566.60 before taxes and $542.50 for shipping to Pelican International, Inc. for the purchase of kayaks, paddles, anchors, and life jackets for the watercraft rental services, and to approve payment of $8,000 before taxes to Notre-Dame de l'Île Perrot for the purchase of paddleboards, paddles, ropes, and rescue kits for the watercraft rental services. So these are amounts that were left over from last year. En français.
7.3, autorisation de paiement équipement nautique. Considérant que le projet d'ajouter un service de location d'embarcation nautique au parc Jack Layton a nécessité l'achat de matériel nautique, cette résolution a pour but d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 7 566,60 sous avant taxes et 542,50 sous de transport à Pélican International Inc. pour l'achat de kayaks, pagaies, ancres et gilets de sauvetage pour le service de location d'embarcation, d'approuver le paiement d'un montant de 8 000 avant taxes à Notre-Dame de l'Île Perrot pour l'achat de planches à pagaies, cordes, pagaies et trousses de sauvetage pour le service de location d'embarcation nautique.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Bob Johnson, supported by Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. Perhaps just some numbers here for paddle boards. So one of these amounts, the first one, the $7,566 with the $542.50, were actually paid out last year but put into an account, a general account. So we're now allocating it to an account that is specific for this project. This is a no. It's a pilot project. That's the one I was looking for. A 3-year pilot project, and we will be reconducting it this year as well. Last year, we spent approximately $60,000 on this project, and this was for 9 weeks, whereas this year we're planning to extend it to 11 weeks. And there were approximately 250 people who used the services, half of which were from Hudson. And there were preferential rates as well for Hudson. So we will work harder at getting the news out and having this service better known, better heard, better communicated. And last year it began July 1st or around that time, so we would be looking to start a little bit sooner. So just keep that in mind. But it's something that as people get to enjoy the river's edge and have greater access, public access to the river, I think it is a really nice way to spend the day and to see Hudson from a different vantage point. 7.4, no, none of those, j'en ai pas. 8. Section 8, Public Works. Item 8.1, resolution rejecting bids received in response to public tender AO-2026-02 TP, construction and rental of modular offices. I'll give a little preamble. So as you've probably heard me speak, we are in need of a new town hall, bigger town hall, better spaces for the staff to work in. And as we had to close 64-seater due to poor air quality and relocate rapidly some of the staff, one of the options that we were looking into was mobile offices. The town went out to tender, and you will see by the following resolution that the amounts were far above what we had estimated, and therefore we are looking at a different option at this time, which will probably be to actually repurpose 64-seater, remove the mold that is there, work on cleaning that out and improving air quality and starting the 64-seater as the continued temporary space that it has been since 2007. Somewhere around then. It's been a long time. It's been there as a temporary place. So here we go. Whereas the town of Hudson issued a public call for tenders for the construction and rental of modular offices, AO-2026-02-TP, Whereas following this call for tender, 2 bids were received. Gestion Karma for $907,600 and AMB Modulable for $630,000. Considering that the lowest bid submitted significantly exceeds the estimated value of the contract, and really by 2/3, this resolution is that the Town of Hudson Council rejects all bids received in response to the public call for tenders for the construction and rental of modular offices AO-2026-02-TP. En français.
8.1, résolution rejetant les soumissions reçues suite à l'appel d'offres public AO 2026-02-TP, construction et location de bureaux modulaires. Considérant que la Ville d'Hudson a procédé à un appel d'offres public pour la construction et la location de bureaux modulaires AO 2026-02-TP, considérant que suite à cet appel d'offres, 2 soumissions ont été reçues, Gestion Karma, 907 600 $, AMB modulable, 630 000 $. Considérant que le prix le plus bas soumis dépasse largement la valeur estimée du contrat, cette résolution vise à ce que le Conseil municipal de la Ville d'Hudson rejette toutes les soumissions reçues suite à l'appel d'offres public pour la construction et la location de bureaux modulables AO 2026-02-TP.
Merci beaucoup. I have a mover in Darren Legault, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 9, Public Safety, 9.1, Renewal of the First Responder Service Agreement, whereas the Act respecting pre-hospital emergency services aims to ensure that at all times individuals using pre-hospital emergency services receive an appropriate, efficient, and high-quality response. This resolution is that the Town of Hudson renews the First Responder Service Agreement effective January 1st of 2026. En français.
9.1, renouvellement de l'entente de service de premier répondant 2026. Considérant que la loi sur les services préhospitaliers d'urgence vise à ce que soit apporté en tout temps aux personnes faisant appel à des services préhospitaliers d'urgence une réponse appropriée, efficiente et de qualité, cette résolution vise à ce que la Ville d'Hudson renouvelle l'entente de service de premier répondant en date du 1er janvier 2026.
Do I have a mover to my left? It is Mark Gray, supported by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So as we have deferred item 10.1, there are no items under Section 11, Other Authorities. Are there any items under 12, New Business? No. So we will now open the second question period. There are currently 19 people online and approximately 10 people. I'm not counting my husband. I don't know if I should count. Benoit, je te taquine. And I see Brenda is in the room. So about 10, 12, about in the room. So please, alternating between the room and online, please come to the mic or raise your hand. Benoit, as-tu une question? Pas de question? I see Jamie. Jamie, questions? No questions? Oh, Benoit's coming to say hi. Yeah, of course. Come to the microphone so the people online can hear you.
So Benoit Blais, Main Road. Last year I was present at the IGA when a lady fell on the ground and waited for over an hour to be moved by the ambulance. And I called twice 911, and I asked them, why are we not referring for the first responder? And the answer is, there's no need for that. So they were pushed aside. I called directly somebody at the first responder, and they came in less than 10 minutes. And they said they were facing that problem more and more, that 911 was not referring to them. Have we fixed that problem?
I've certainly raised it at the MRC level. I know that the fire department's raised it as well. I think it is better. I don't know if it's 100% fixed.
Okay, we're just curious.
Yeah, no, it's, they have, how is it, new dispatching protocols, I think is how they explained it. And there was a situation here on the ice at the Legion at the beginning. It was during the campaign period. It couldn't have been during the ice in October, but I heard about it in October, and it was someone who'd cracked their head on the ice, and it took 45 minutes.
So it's better?
I am told it's better, but we have to keep our eyes on it. It's good to have a spare set of phone numbers. But I see there are 2 hands up online, so let's start with Carol Ann Mills, and if there's someone in the room that wants to then stand up, you can. Otherwise, we'll proceed with the second hand. So Carol Ann, please go ahead.
Good evening. Mayor Hutchison, with regards to the town having made the decision to proceed in accepting the CMM grant, there had been a couple of mentions in the public consultation meeting that you held with regards to the possibility of changing the name to better reflect that we would like everyone to consider Sandy Beach as a conservation area. And I'm just wondering, when you put forward this acceptance of the grant, perhaps we either stall receiving the money, or perhaps you can request that they stall advertising it until such time as you make a final decision on the name. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good suggestion. I don't see that being an issue. And certainly the name change has been an ongoing topic since at least October. We've heard several different suggestions, whether it should be Sandy Beach Conservation Area or renaming it entirely after a person or grand donor. But that's a good one, that at least on the CMM's public record, the one that they will be publicizing, that at least it not be publicized as a beach. I think that's a good comment, so thank you. Are there any questions in the room? So Luc, go ahead. Luc Dion?
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, on t'entend bien.
En fait, je trouve ça, j'ai trouvé intéressant les 2 commentaires concernant les accidents qui sont arrivés où on a un délai d'1 heure ou 45 minutes. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous donner un peu de détails concernant l'item 9.1? Qu'est-ce que ça implique?
Qu'est-ce que ça implique, le changement de protocole, ou qu'est-ce que ça implique?
En fait, vous avez écrit renouvellement de l'entente. Donc, c'est quoi l'entente?
Je ne sais pas exactement dans les détails, mais c'est juste une entente qu'on adopte assez régulièrement. Vanessa, do you have any details on that item? Autrement, Luc, ce que je vais faire, c'est que je vais demander à Daniel Leblanc, le directeur du service, de nous écrire un petit paragraphe. Okay. Moi, je n'ai pas les détails comme tels. Ce n'était pas nécessairement lié aux incidents dont parlaient Benoît et moi tantôt.
Mais c'est une entente avec notre service de pompiers pour faire le service?
Je ne veux pas répondre des bêtises, okay. Donc je te propose que je fasse mes devoirs.
Okay. C'est pour le service des premiers répondants. Donc, c'est un service qu'on a en commune.
Oui, mais est-ce que c'est un changement? C'est juste pour...
C'est annuel, c'est une entente annuelle.
But is it like when you're servicing other towns? Is that what it is?
Yes, servicing other and ourselves at the same time. Right.
Okay. Donc, c'est vraiment l'entente annuelle de base, celle qui permet à nos services d'incendie, premiers répondants, d'aller desservir d'autres municipalités, puis qui en échangent des services en retour pour une somme, là. Donc, je pense que c'est par rapport à ça, mais je vais quand même faire mes devoirs, puis je vais vous revenir à la prochaine séance.
Merci bien.
Bienvenue. Are there any other questions in the room? Yes, please.
Yeah, so my name is Ingrid Zerbe. I'm at 714 Main Road.
If you can talk in the microphone so people online can hear you.
All right, okay. So yeah, I was actually on Zoom and I tried to raise my hand, but somehow it didn't work. Our approval for the request for the new siding has been rejected earlier, and I'm just wondering how can I get more information and how soon that will be, and yeah, to get more information, because it doesn't really make any sense. It's the same, it's a neutral color, it's the same style. I didn't even listen really, like I didn't really understand why. I understood that it doesn't fit in or something, but
So the best is to contact the town tomorrow morning, to contact the urban planning, and they will run through the criteria and which ones were not met. So that is the best way forward.
Okay, and they can give me that tomorrow morning, the information?
Tomorrow or the
hopefully.
day after. What do you think, Vanessa?
You can present tomorrow morning, and they'll be able to discuss it with you.
Okay, great. Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I'm sorry the hand didn't work. It usually does. I did receive some questions by email today. If there are no other questions in person, there were 4, so I'm only going to address the first 2, if that is all right. Now I just have to find them, which would be here and at the bottom of this page. So the questions were by Christine Gardner, Lower Maple. I'm looking at Mark because I know he spoke to her as well today, correct?
I just read the email myself.
Oh, you read the
today,
email.
and
Okay.
I spoke with her at the CMM public consultation.
Last Thursday.
Yeah,
Okay.
last Thursday.
So the first one, no barbecue and/or fires due to risk and limited fire truck access as witnessed many years ago in the 1990s. So this is with regards to Sandy Beach. Will there be daily community patrols? The plan at this point is, yes, to have regular community patrols, whether it is for parking or other bylaw infractions, but also to have a person on site to look at the ecological impact of the people on trails, off trails, and hopefully to sensitize people with dogs to keep them on leash and to respect the signage. So that is for the first question. The parking mentioned on Beach Road North allows how many parking spots for non-residents? On Google Maps, Beach Road is short to the tracks, and the remaining street towards the beach is now called Royal View. So actually, Beach runs from Main across the train tracks and all the way to the last roundabout. And it's only once you get to the last roundabout, which is that footpath access to the beach, that is called Royal View. I always thought it was Royal View from the train tracks Lake Hugh all the way, but it's actually beach all the way to the roundabout. I don't know. I've never counted how many parking spaces. I don't know if we've done that exercise, but it's not parking spots that are reserved for non-residents or for residents. It's just parking spaces, so they're for all. But we could certainly look into that. It'd be an interesting exercise to do, so we'll get back to you. So for your other 2 questions, I'll answer them in writing. It's more about Jack Layton Park, and I think you'd seen some walking and signs of snowmobile, and you also wanted to know about 2 Royal View, so you may have heard the resolution this evening on 2 Royal View, so that should have answered that question. Are there any other interested people to come to the microphone, ask a question, or online? I see none, so we will proceed. Section 13, adjournment of the meeting. This resolution is that the meeting be adjourned at 8:31 p.m. Do I have a mover? Reed Thompson and Mark Gray. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hands. There are none. It is adopted unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for attending this meeting, and we look forward to seeing you next month.